person wants to know, what would I say is a realistic profit goal on a weekly basis with a starting account balance of $2,000? This person only has $2,000, but this is a very relevant question for a lot of people. And at one point, for myself, when you had less than $5,000, I mean, that's, it can be hard to get a lot of money together to trade with. So great question. And first, what I would say is, before you can understand your profit goal, you have to understand your position goal, meaning how much money are you going to have in a position on a given day or in one given position. And at $2,000, I would recommend positions of $200 to $400 at a time. That way you have no more than 10 to 20% exposure on any one trade at any given time, and that will ensure when you have a loss, it isn't destroying your account. And as a new trader, you're going to have a loss. So with that said, I think it's realistic to also be getting anywhere from 20 to 40% gains on winning trades. That's just based on my own personal track record of winning trades. So that would put you at a profit target of $40/$80, between $80 and $160. 40/$80 based on 10% of 200 to 400, 80/160 based on having 20% exposure of 200 to 400 when you're capturing 20 to 40% gains. So that's on winning trades. I think it's realistic to make one of those winning trades every day. So if you're executing well, which isn't necessarily easy, but I think it's realistic, you can have 5 winning trades per week. Based on my proposed examples, that would equate to gross profits of $200 to $800. Emphasis on gross profits. It's not net profits, because you have to assume there's going to be losers every week as well. But your goal should be keeping your losing trade half of your winning trade. So that way, if you're losing on those trades, instead of losing $40 to $80, now you're only losing $20 to $40. Or instead of losing $80 to $160, now you're only losing $40 to $80. That would then leave you with gross losses on the week of $100 to $400. And overall, that puts you at net profits of $100 to $400 per week. And I do think that is a realistic profit goal for someone who is starting out. Now, there will be major temptation to start out and make trades with all $2,000, or maybe quote-unquote only $1,000. And if it works, your profit will obviously be much bigger. You'll probably feel good about yourself. However, if it doesn't work, which is probably more likely since you're a new trader, your loss will be that much bigger as well. Bottom line, I don't think it is good for your long-term goal, or what should be your long-term goal, of developing winning habits if you are trading with more than 20% of that starting $2,000 account at the beginning. Trust me when I say that the gratification you feel if you hit it right is severely outweighed by the stupidity you feel if you hit it wrong. I'll say that again. The gratification you will feel if you are right will be outweighed by the stupidity if you are wrong. So take that advice and do what you will with it. If you're willing to risk that stupid moment, then go ahead. But you want my advice, this is it. You need to understand realistic position amounts before you can try and develop realistic profit goals. And at $2,000, I personally would not be having more than $200 to $400 exposed at a time on any given trade. Just today, in fact, you can see that I have a closed profit loss of $109 on the day. You can see that down here on the lower right well, just bottom of the screen. And if you were to look at my orders today, you'll see that my largest principal was $281. That was the most I ever had committed in principal. And I've got a $26,000 account. So even with that amount of money, you know, I could have made all of these exact same trades with only $2,000. And I still would have made my $100. If you have a $2,000 account and you're making $100, I would think that's a really good capital return. But everybody's different.